Today marks the day of me sharing a new story with you guys. Kinda nervous about it, but it's fine. I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. I'm very excited and low-key kind of nervous to be sharing this video with you guys. So I told you last month that the new monthly OC character video things, they're all going to be related to my soon-to-be webcomic. Before anyone asks, nothing is out. I don't have any comics out, but I am working very, very much and hard on a webcomic behind the scenes, and it stars this cast of characters that I'm going to be talking about for the next like 5 months. That being said, since I am planning on making a webcomic with these characters and it's gonna come out soon, I don't know when, but it's gonna come out at some point. I'm probably going to be a lot more tight-lipped than usual. I'm already very like limited in things that I'll share, but it's fine. You guys will just suffer a little longer. I'm also very nervous because since I am getting very far in writing the comic, I'm worried about posting this and you guys hating it, but it's fine. Anyways, I'm sharing the first character of the story with you today. This is Delaney. Out of all of the casts of main characters, he's like the main character, I guess. You know, I hope you know what I mean. But I'm not going to ramble too much. Let's just get started on talking about Delaney. He's the first character in a very long time that has a last name, and at this point he's the only character in the story with a last name, but his name is Delaney or Del. He is 25 years old, and he is a male, and also a vampire. We'll talk about what that means exactly a little bit later, but for now, he's a vampire. That's all you need to know. He was born a vampire, he's gonna die a vampire, and he's always been a vampire. He's very extroverted, way too extroverted, honestly. And if there's one word to describe him, it would be insufferable. He's a lot. Every single time I talk about him, I say that he's an asshole, and that's because he is an asshole. He is way too full of himself, honestly, and he tends to overestimate himself a lot. He always thinks he's capable of so many more things than he actually is, and he acts like he's the greatest. He doesn't ever think about the negative sides of things, and he's very determined to do something. So pretty much whenever he says that he is going to do something, it's basically him saying like, it's already done. I'm doing it and I've decided. I said that he's insufferable, and that's very true. Yet also at the same time, he can be pretty charismatic, even though he is very exhausting to a lot of people around him. A lot of people tend to see the good in him, or at least like once they get to know him, they start to see the good in him. And even though he is a very loud, obnoxious, and seemingly self-centered person, he can actually be very selfless and sympathetic, and he has good intentions. I mean, he would have to. He's like considered the hero of the story, I guess. He frustrates a lot of people around him, especially Lo, who's a character I'm sure many of you are aware of, but he's just a lot, but he has good intentions, and so a lot of people tend to either grow to love that part of him, or they just respect him a little bit more. Okay, so the story. It's like, you know, it's a little hard to explain. I mean, maybe not, but just stay with me, pay attention. The world that Delaney lives in, there is humans, and then there's also beasts. Humans are humans, it's not really hard to explain. They're just people. And then beasts are kind of what I've called all of the non-humans. They're all kind of like grouped together, so Delaney would be in there because he's a vampire. Lo, he's another character, he's a werewolf, he's in there. And then Noe, she's a jackalope, she's in there. Basically any character that's based off of like a fictional creature or cryptid or myth thing. Like that would all be considered a beast. A lot of the story is based around this legend. So within the world there's this legend about how in the beginning of time the beasts and humans got along. They just coexisted and there wasn't any issues, and then over time, due to events which I'm not going to talk about, but you will find out in the story within the first few chapters. What? Don't put anything in the washer yet, and if you do, don't turn it on.
I'm not.
I'm filming.
Okay, what you're doing.
I'm offended.
What, do you want me to just leave all the wet, soaked towels on your floor?
Yes.
I don't think you do.
I want you to leave them in the floor in the living room, because I'm filming.
No.
Yes.
I don't think so. I'm not going to do that.
Why?
Because the floor is already soaked.
Closed door.
It is closed.
No, my door.
You're dumb.
Thank you. Anyways, humans and beasts in the beginning of time got along swimmingly. They were great. And then over time, they started fighting and really hating each other, and it's a big part of the world is that they're constantly fighting against one another. Obviously, like, that doesn't speak for everybody. There are individuals of both groups that feel differently, but in general, the world, they're set up against each other. Delaney is a prince. He's Prince Delaney. That's how I always refer to him, pretty much. And the structure of the world is like this. There are two kings. So there's the king of humans and king of beasts. Delaney's father is the king of beasts, and so Delaney is the prince of all beasts. I don't know if that's confusing. I think here's a way to explain it. To all my fellow Americans out there, and also my other non-fellow Americans, here's the American government. We have like state governments and then federal government. State government is like each state can govern themselves, and then the federal government is like the entire country. The state governments for the most part do what they want, but then the federal government is like, we're laying down the law here. The world is kind of like that, except think of the human king and beast king as like two separate federal governments. Does that make sense? So they each own smaller chunks of land, which for the most part they can govern themselves fairly efficiently, but they do have like they have the final word, I think is what I'm trying to say. Now Delaney's father, the king of beasts, he wants to kind of, I don't want to say overthrow humans, because they kind of, like, one doesn't have more power than the other, but he wants to just, like, take down humans, and he wants to make beasts rule everything, basically. And Delaney is like, hey, maybe not. Maybe don't do that. After many years of dealing with that, he eventually leaves his castle to make plans to stop him, to stop his father. So Delaney's, like, main goal, and the main cast's, like, goal is to stop Delaney's father from fucking everyone over and then help to unite them to how it was before. So Delaney, right? He's like the driving force of the movement, I guess. He is the one who leaves home to even start the story, and then he's the one who gathers the main cast together. He's the one who's always like pushing to get this goal accomplished, and he's the one who really goes out of his way to get things done. Because he kind of brings everyone together, he becomes the leader of the group, much to everyone's disagreement. I guess he's kind of the morale, you could say. Obviously in the group he gets along with some more than others, but he tries to get along with everyone fairly well just for the sake of getting things done. Since he is sort of the leader of the group, he is always one to talk to people who aren't a part of their like little, what would I call it, revolution, movement, plan, company, pals, friend group. He's always the one to kind of talk about their plans and try and get help from outside sources, because obviously he's going against his father, so he needs backup. But also as a result of that and the fact that he's low-key kind of desperate to get things done, he can put himself in fairly dangerous situations that the rest of the group kind of has to pull him out of. And yeah, overall he's an asshole, but a lovable asshole. I don't know if me explaining the story was clear. There is a lot about the story that even though you find out fairly quickly in the chapters that I have written, like within the first 5 chapters or so, I think it's a lot more fun for you guys to read and find out for yourself. So hopefully you can do that. But if you have any questions about the plot, or if I said anything that was unclear, feel free to comment down below and I will do my very best to try and answer them. Now, I'm not going to answer questions that I feel I already answered in this video, or questions that would be spoilers. So if I don't respond to your question, just assume one of those two, or that I didn't see it. But I'm going to be trying to respond to as many of them as I can. And speaking of questions, it's the Q&A half of the video. My favorite part. I love the questions that you guys ask me about my characters. It's always a fun time. He might have a last name, but he does not have a birthday. Oh yeah, these are the traditional questions. By the way, he doesn't have a birthday or a zodiac sign. Does he prefer ice cream cake or cookie cake? He prefers both of them combined into one. So like a cookies and cream ice cream cake. And lastly, use a vine to describe him.
I do love working here. It's just, we all have a lot of laughs. Fuck off, Janet. I'm not going to your fucking baby shower.
Moving on from those, which OCs does he like most besides himself? I like how you clarified besides himself. So within his world and like the main cast of characters, I would say, so I thought I didn't say her name before, but apparently I did because a lot of people within the comment section of my Q&A post, like they knew her name, but Alice, that girl that I keep drawing but literally never talk about, he probably gets along most with her. It's literally because she tolerates him the most. I'll talk a little bit more about that in her video, but it would probably be her. He doesn't necessarily like her the most. He kind of likes his friends equally. He doesn't like choosing that sort of things, but I would say he gets along with Alice most just because, again, she tolerates him the most. How did you come up with his name? It's funny that you ask that. So the way that I come up with characters' names is that after I design their appearance, because I very rarely pick a name first and then design a character based off of that, I always pick a couple of names after I've designed the character. I usually pick at least 3, usually about 5, possibly more if there's just so many that I like. And then I'll usually narrow it down to about like 2, sometimes 3. You'd be surprised with how many names I can come up with. Delaney was one of those names, and for a while I was certain that his name was going to be Lowell, because that's what Lowe's name is. Like, Lowe is short for Lowell. And for a while that was going to be Delaney's name because I really liked the sound of Prince Lowell. But then I look up name meanings whenever I get stuck between a couple of names, and I found out that Lowell means like wolf child or something. So I was like, oh, that's for sure the werewolf. And then Delaney means something along the lines of like challenger of dark, or like like something like that. I don't know the exact meaning. I probably should have wrote it down in my script, but it's fine. It means something along the lines of that, and I thought that it suited him and the role that he plays in the story, so that's how I decided to give him that name. That's kind of how I name a lot of my characters. I don't normally pick a name just because I like the sound of it. That does happen, but a lot of the times I'll pick a few names that I think suit them. Usually when I get stuck between like 2 or so names, I'll look up the meaning of them, and then whichever meaning I think suits them more, that is what I give them their names. So you guys can feel free going through all my OCs, looking at their name meanings and deciding which ones are which. Have fun with it. What is his favorite blood type to drink? The way that vampires are in this universe is different from how we know them. Not like a whole lot different. Drinking blood isn't a necessity for vampires in this universe. Like, you know how if you're feeling a little weak, you might feel better after you eat something. It's kind of like that, only like a little bit stronger. So like, it's not a requirement that he drinks blood, but it's recommended for vampires to do so. It just gives him more energy, and it gives him a little boost in the powers that he has. So like, he floats. That's another thing that he does. It just makes doing things like that a little bit easier on him. And all blood tastes the same. There's no distinction between them. Would he ever cut his hair? Is there a reason that it's long? Yes. So for centuries, it's a tradition for the Beast royal family. The prince or princess will grow out their hair. They'll never cut it in their life. And then when they get to the crowning ceremony, when the prince or princess takes over as king or queen, during the crowning ceremony, they cut their hair. And so in the theoretical future where Delaney becomes king, that is when he will cut his hair, but before that, he can't cut it. Why do Lowe and Delaney bicker? On the surface, it's because Lowe has a really short temper and Delaney's an egotistical asshole who constantly tests his temper. There is a little bit more to it than that, but I will just let you guys wait until the comic is out so you can read it and find out. Is he the type to get guilty and stay guilty, or does he forget? Kind of a little bit of both. He tends to pretend that he doesn't care or that he doesn't do anything wrong, but if something really bothers him, he'll stay guilty until he does something to fix it. Sass or class? A little bit of both. Mostly sass, if we're being honest. There are definitely times where he is class, but for the most part, he is sass and nothing more. What is his favorite place to relax? He really likes high up places, so he really likes nighttime. He's a little bit sensitive to the daylight. It's not like harmful to him, he does better at night. So he likes nighttime, and he also likes to float in high places. He just vibes in the sky at nighttime, normally, and that's when he's most relaxed. What time does he go to bed? How many hours does he sleep? Does he sleep at all? He stays up very late most nights and wakes up very early most mornings. It's common that he won't get sleep, but when he does get sleep, it's not very much. If he was kidnapped, what would he do? He'd probably be so annoying that the kidnappers would just get rid of him. He wouldn't stay kidnapped for long. Is he okay with his hair being touched? And who does his hair? Normally he just does his hair. He normally just puts it up himself. It's not very common that he lets his hair down, but when he does, he's usually the one to put it back up. He doesn't normally like having his hair touched. Occasionally he'll let Alice fix it up, but in general he doesn't like having it touched by people. Is he Gretchen, Karen, or Regina? Delaney is 100% Regina George, absolutely no doubt in my mind. Can he see his reflection in the mirror? I don't remember where I heard this, but I remember hearing that the reason vampires can't see their reflection in mirrors is because when vampires started becoming a concept, like way back when, mirrors used to be made out of a different material, but mirrors aren't made out of that anymore. I can't remember what the material is, but vampires can't see their reflection in that material, not necessarily mirrors. So he can't see his reflection in older mirrors, but he can in newer mirrors. Here's a little fun vampire fact for you. Is he intentionally annoying, or is it just his personality? For the most part, it's just his personality. There are times where he amps it up a little bit, like he really enjoys messing with Lo. So around Lo, he tends to be just a little bit more extra than he normally is, but in general, he's really just an extra egotistical asshole. Does he have a green thumb, or does he kill everything he touches? He kills everything he touches, without a doubt, but he pretends that he doesn't, and he insists that he doesn't, because again, he thinks he's great at everything. And lastly, one of the most asked questions, what are his thoughts on Twilight? The only thing he likes about it is that the vampires sparkle. He's very jealous and he would like to sparkle, but other than that, he does not like it. There we go. There's my boy, my Prince boy. Hope you enjoyed him. A lot of you guys ask me if I have a release date for this comic. I do not yet, but I am very far along in the writing process. I'm so excited for you guys to see it, so keep some eyes out for updates on that. My plan is to get it out before 2020 is over. From the looks of it, if it does come out this year, it's not going to be out until late this year, but I'm so excited. Keep your eyes out for some release dates, for more characters, all that stuff, because I just love talking about this story. And again, if anything else was unclear in this video, feel free to comment down below. I'm very vague with things, and I know I'm probably being even more vague than usual, but I'll try my best to answer things. Let me know your favorite part about Delaney, or if you hate him, because you wouldn't be alone. A lot of people do hate him, at least in within his story. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you're excited for other characters of this universe. I am very excited for it. Next month is Lo. He's the OC for June, so that's exciting. I would suggest follow me on Instagram if you want to be a part of Lo's video, because that is where I host the Q&A sections of these videos. I will leave a post up for 24 hours, and then you guys just go ham in the comments, and then I'll pick some to answer in this video, so keep an eye out for that if you want to be a part of Lo's or anybody else's in the future. And speaking of my social media, you can follow me on those. They will be on screen now and linked in the description box below. Again, Instagram is the best place, but if not, you don't have to worry about it. And there will also be some videos on screen now and linked in the iCard for you to check out if you want. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Bye.